Alright guys, what's up? This is Shatner's Prodigy, and today I'm bringing you my Fabled Quasar deck profile for the April 2016 format. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So starting off with the main deck, we have, of course, triple Chawa and triple Nizuchi. Nothing much needs to be said about these guys. I mean, there's very little that they do, except for discard one Fabled to special summon themselves. Nizuchi also has a little extra effect that allows you to empty out your hand a bit more by special summoning one level 2 or lower Fabled from it. But overall, they're basically the guys who get your hand going. They trigger the Fableds, and it's really nice. Then we have Grimro, the Searcher, always play her at 3, and 3 Cross. Now, a lot of people don't get why I play 3 Cross. They're always like, "Hey Shatner, I run 2 Cross. Why do you run 3 Cross?" And the reason why I run 3 Cross is because she's Monster Reborn, and you run the maximum amount of Monster Reborns that's really necessary. So I run 3. She's just very good. Opens up a very easy Reagan play with her, Chawa, and Grimro. And that's why we run 3 of her. Now next up, this is a bit weird, but you want to run either 2 Cerebro, 2 Luries, or 3 Cerebro, 1 Lurie. You kind of want 4 of these 2 cards together. And they're kind of the backbone of your Synchro plays. This guy's a level 2 tuner, this guy's a level 1 non-tuner. And they both just special summon themselves out when discarded. And they're going to be your main Synchro fodder. So you definitely need enough of them, but not too much. I wouldn't recommend 6, but 4 seems to be a good number. Then Waganasha, he's not very good, so you run 1 of him. And 1 Kushano. I used to not run Kushano. I actually have like a 15-minute video explaining why I didn't run Kushano. But that kind of changed. Now we don't have as much draw power, so we need more discard outlets. And Kushano's a relatively good one. She's especially good late game whenever you, late your first turn, whenever you're kind of running out of steam and you need just like 1 more discard to get your play going, and you have Kushano in the graveyard. Very good. Hands down, one of the better targets for Foolish Burial. And yeah, that's all the Fableds. Next up, we have the monsters I just run 1 of. 1 Level Eater, 1 Glow-Up Bulb, 1 Tuning Wear, and 1 Hat Tricker. These guys all just help with your special summons and your synchro summons, so they're very good. Very not good to draw, though. So that's all the monsters. Coming up on spells, 3 dealings, no explanation needed. 3 desynchro, it's up from 2. I run 3 now, as you can see, have a plethora of rarities here. But it's up from 2 because it's just so important. It lets you flip back your formulas and your Reagans and just get more draw power. And it just turns your field into like more of a toolbox. So one of my favorite plays I like to do is if you make 1 Reagan, right, and you draw into stuff to make another Reagan and you have desynchro, I'll flip back the first Reagan to make TG Hyper Librarian and then go off from there. It also lets you loop some of your other effects that have a soft once per turn clause, so you can loop Ancient Fairy Dragon, you can loop your Trishula. You can also loop just summons to get more draws off a Hyper Librarian, so it's very important, and I like it at 3. If you draw, you can always just set it and make a Reagan from there. 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Ayers Rock Sunrise, which is just a Monster Reborn for any Beast-type monster. Just get a Chawa back at any point, very good. Where Art Thou? It's tougher to dodge the 2000 damage, but you can also just use, sorry about that, you can also use Performance Hat Tricker to dodge it, which you were always able to do, or 1 Day Apiece. Or you could just be a man and take the damage, you know? Then we have Double Summon. Of course, sometimes you need 2 summons, and that's always there to give you that. And we're still running 1 Monster Reincarnation. It's more important now because instead of searching from your deck, you're going to need to utilize your graveyard more since you don't have the upstarts. And next up we have our 2 quick play spells. These aren't very good to run, but you kind of need to. Running 1 Draw Muscle. This card's back again. I took it out originally for Chicken Game because it was a more consistent draw card. But now we need that draw power back, so we run Draw Muscle. And 1 Hand Destruction. Hand Destruction isn't a very good card. I do not like it, but it's kind of important for emptying out your hand and refreshing it. So if you draw like Tuning Wares and Glow-Up Bulbs and Level Eaters, you can get them out of your hand. You can't set it and activate it later in the turn because it's a quick play. But you can usually play around it by just keeping it in your hand and just drawing the normal 2 off of Reagan and Librarian, which is a very nice play. Next up, we have some of the most powerful cards in the game, especially in this deck, and these are the limited spells. These guys were cards that were so menacing and abusable, Konami had to put them at 1, or else who knows what would have happened. We have cards like Soul Charge, the card that freaking ruined Dragon Rollers. It made Infernity one of the most overpowered decks for a format and let them win Worlds. We have Foolish Burial, the Bane of Teledad. Dump a Malicious, dump a Plague Spreader. Boom, you can make tons of big synchro plays. You can make Stardust. 1-for-1, Broke Mind Master. You can bring out Tin Can with it, making Monarchs an extremely potent deck in this format. One Day of Peace, the card that freaking was the menace of everyone playing against Exodia. You couldn't kill them. Final Countdown FTK, you couldn't kill them. Insane, and free draw power. And of course, Upstart Goblin. What was Konami thinking? But that's it for the main deck. Nice 40 card main deck. 39 if you count that Upstart, 2 OP. So moving into the extra deck, we have the single best instant fusion target for this deck. It is insane, it is perfect, it is El Shaddai Winda. Then we have our 2 Formula Synchrons. These guys, free draw 1 card, turn your D-Synchro into an Upstart Goblet of sorts, or if you have TG Hyper Librarian, turn it into a Pot of Greed. Very good card. And we have Colossalus. Colossalus, just level 3 Synchro. Nothing special about him. A play that you can do, if one day you wake up and realize that you have no spine, is that you can actually run... Well, where did you go? Oh, a play that you can actually do... Okay. A play that you actually can do if you wake up one day and feel like, man, where'd my spine go? So you can run 3 Goyo Defender and just make it, and then make Quasar using Tatsunoko or something. I wouldn't recommend that. It's a cheap and lame way to make Quasar, but if you want to be a little Call of Duty girl, you can. So there you go. That's open to you. Still running Phonon Pulse Dragon. He's kind of becoming a bit obsolete. I don't like to say that, but he's still good. Don't get me wrong, but you just need to have him be the last synchro summon you do before Quasar, and that really limits up your options. So if you're like, man, I guess I'm stuck. I got to make Phonon Pulse Dragon. You make him, and then you draw into Soul Charge. Well, you're out of luck. But he can be used now since we're running Level Eater again. You can make a 4/4/4 Quasar with him, which is very nice. And speaking of 4/4/4, level 4 is Armory Arm. I've switched back from Elder Entity Hastor because Hastor is not good. Armory Arm is just good because not only is he a level 4 synchro, but he can boost your Quasar up to 5,000 attack, which can attack over that new guy, Dark Planet, that Cosmos are getting. It also lets you beat over anything in the game, really. I mean, except for 5-headed dragon, but what are you gonna do about that? And also, it can free up space on your board. So if you use 2 monsters to make him and then equip him to a monster, you now have 2 free spots, which you can use to go into a Reagan. So it's just nice to clear up your field. Speaking of Reagan, we have 3 Reagans. Maybe you can run 2 in like an Armades or something if you want to do that. Go for Armades, but I just find myself needing 3 Reagan a lot more than I need an Armades. You don't run. The only non-Fabled tuner you run is Glow Up Bulb. So you really don't find yourself in a situation where you need to make a play like that very often. Then you have TG Hyper Librarian, of course, very powerful. She replaces your Upstart Goblin as generic support. Generic draw support, my bad. Anytime you synchro summon, draw a card, very powerful. And we have 1 Stardust Charge Warrior, very good card. She's essentially Formula Synchron. But a level 6, that is extremely useful with Level Eater. Once Coral Dragon comes out, I'll put out a deck profile including her. But for now, it's still very, very good. It's another way for you to get draw power. It's another way for you to get cards in your hand and extend your play, which is what you want with this deck. 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon, very good card. You can't use her anymore to recycle chicken games, but she's still very important for her second effect, which allows you to, or I guess her first effect, to special summon 1 level 4 lower monster from your hand, so you can just bring out anything that's clogging your hand. You can also desynchro her and just special summon out any 2 cards. Desynchro her, so you can keep on looping her effect. Then you have Trishula, allows you to directly attack your opponent's hand advantage, which is very important. And you can take care of like Dark Destroyers, Forerunners, and Cosmo. Not a permanent solution, but you know, it's okay. This deck isn't really competitive, but this gives you a little bit of an edge on people. Also extremely easy to summon. And then we have 2 Quasars, of course, the boss monster of the deck. I love her, but she's getting kind of power creeped, but I'm still going to play her. It's just too much swag summoning her, man. I mean, he can't get rid of that. For the side deck, I've been listening to you guys, don't worry. I've made up my mind. 15 copies of the Fabled Pegasus is a bit inconsistent, so I've dropped it down to the standard 1 Or 3, you know, just 3 copies of the Fabled Pegasus. That's good. But seriously, your side deck's not going to win you games. Quasar will. You can make Quasar. He's essentially the best side deck card. You can run, like, Pallades or something and side out a second Quasar if you're like, if you realize there's no way you're going to make 2 Quasars against someone without sacrificing too many resources. Or you could run something like Michael the Arclight Sworn or another, like, just extra deck filler card that allow you to tackle a certain problem. Or, if you'll notice, maybe conspicuously, I didn't have Shooting Star Dragon on my extra deck. And the reason for that is you might want to side deck him, but a lot of the meta decks today don't care about shooting Quasar Dragon. Monarchs, just Stormforth him, easy peasy. Mermail will just, Mermail and everyone else will just put Gamma Seal on you. And if you're facing against a Peppy or a Rank Fort, or I guess it's, what is it now, Draco Pals or something? They'll just make their Utopia S39 the Lightning, and those all either make Quasar miss timing or stop him from activating, which won't let you bring out this guy. So maybe side him if you're facing off against, like, Yasenjus or something, where you're liable to get just Mirror Forced, then yeah, you might want to keep that in there. And yeah, that's just about it for the deck profile. Now for my opinions on the deck. Of course I like the deck. It's a very, very powerful deck, but it's a very, very fragile deck. Mega Capital G called it a glass cannon, and I completely agree with that saying. Very little describes it better. It'll go off on your opponent and it'll make them lose, or you'll lose. Once you make Quasar, you really have no recovery plays except for Soul Charge. But if your opponent gets your life points low enough, there's really no way to come back. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. That's my overall thoughts, opinions, deck profile. This is the thing I'm using right now. I'll update my Dueling Network profile as I change it, and then in August, whenever Coral Dragon comes out, I'll update the deck profile. Or just in case, if a new format drops, I'll update the deck profile. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and see you later.